Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Hush No More with Dr. Vanessa, where we talk about those topics that families, friends, organizations, communities have a hard time discussing. But here we talk about it from a very truthful perspective. But first, before I start, I want to thank CTR Media Network for being our sponsor. They are an amazing platform. They have movies, they have a podcast, different podcasts. Like everything there is positive, very family friendly. And so I highly recommend that you check out CTR Media Network and also Dr. Tina Ramsey. She teaches us a lot on that platform. So if you want to learn about podcasting, connect with her. We're going to get into it today. We're going to get into it today. So, Human Trafficking Month is January. And a lot of people do not even know that that is a thing. Human Trafficking Month is January. Okay. So, remember that. Keep it in the back of your mind. Because I don't think that we talk about it enough. And we definitely should just not just talk about it in the month of January. We should talk about it all year long. And so I wanted to discuss it today so that you all have a reference of what to look for your children. How can you prevent it, right? How can you prevent it being your child? How can you prevent it from being another child? And I think that it is important that we look at it from that perspective because your child could be next. A lot of people do not pay attention to human trafficking, and it is big. I live in South Carolina, and where I live, I 77, I 95, I 20, I 26, all of those interstates come right into South Carolina, right? And it's more, but those are the main big ones that comes through the South. And I don't think that parents really realize that it is real. Human trafficking is on planes, cars. Human trafficking is also in different communities. It doesn't matter if you're rich, it doesn't matter if you're poor. Your family could be part of human trafficking, and I need y'all to know that. Okay, this is big. I think sometimes we have a lot of myths, so I want to talk about some of these myths first, right? So that y'all understand that this thing could really happen to you as well. Okay, and then we're going to talk about what are some signs and what can you do to stop it from happening to your children. Right? We're real big on prevention. Prevention matters, and so I want y'all to think about that. I'm doing this because I care about your family. I care about your kids. Right? And I feel like sometimes the community is not getting the truth. And so this is opportunity for you to get some of this truth because politicians at times don't want you to know that it's going on because it makes their crime rate look bad, their city looks bad. So we're gonna talk about it. All right. So I got 5 myths that I need y'all to know about as parents, right? 5 myths of human trafficking. One, this white van. Do people use white vans? Yes. It's not just this stranger danger. It's not just somebody jumping out of a van and kidnapping your kids. Does that happen? Yes. Okay. So I want you to talk to them about it, but that's not the only things that happen to them. They need to be prepared if they see white vans, any kind of vehicle rolling up on them real slow. You got to talk about what are some things that they can do to be able to protect themselves. Okay. Number two, that your children just going to disappear from your home. That is not true. We have seen cases where the individuals, these young girls and young boys, right? Because it's boys too. Don't just be looking at these girls. It's the boys too. Go home every single day, and the parents have no clue what's going on, right? They are being trafficked, and you don't even know because they come home every day. You don't know what they're doing. You don't know what they're doing during the day hours. Trafficking doesn't just happen at night, it also happens during the day. Okay. So I want parents to be vigilant about that. Don't just assume that your children are at school and that they come home and that everything is good because that's not necessarily the case. Okay. Number three, professionals are trustworthy. That is a big myth. Just because they are a school teacher, a principal, a pastor, a priest, some type of minister, a deacon, just because they are a football coach or they do things with kids, that does not mean that they are really good people. Okay, y'all know I call them creeps. Just because they have a job doesn't mean that they are trustworthy. It doesn't mean that you should leave your children with them unattended. If you leave your kids with them, you got to pop up on them. You got to pop up and find out what's going on at all hours and not just assume that your children are okay. Right? I need y'all to really pay attention to that. People that are predators will get jobs around children because they want access to them. So that doesn't mean that they are a nice person, right? It doesn't mean that they love your kids and that your kids so special. It just means you just gotta pay attention. Okay. 4, that the kids are forced to leave. Some of these children are not forced to leave, right? They are tricked, they are groomed, they are loved. If a person is looking for love and this trafficker actually starts loving on them, making them feel important, right? They could possibly just leave. And it's not a kidnapping. They could leave. And we see that all the time with kids where they're just unhappy, depression, suicidal ideations, single parent home, foster care. They're looking for love. Okay. So don't just assume that all kids are kidnapped. Okay. Some kids go willingly and not knowing what they're getting themselves into, thinking that this person's going to love them, provide for them, especially if they're poor, right? So they go after people that are poor, that are from single parent homes, that nobody would ever expect, right? Someone that has constantly run away anyway. So if they leave, nobody cares, right? They thinking they're just getting in trouble. 5, don't assume that the police are going to find your children. Don't even assume that if your child go missing, that they're even going to put out a Amber Alert on your child, because sometimes police don't even believe it, or especially if this person have bad behavior previously. Sometimes there is no evidence, right, that this child was in human trafficking. We don't always have evidence, so you don't assume. Don't assume. I do believe that law enforcement really are vigilant about human trafficking, right? But you don't know that we're going to find your children. There's a lot of kids that's missing, a lot of children. So don't just assume that just because your child go missing, that we're going to be able to bring them home. That's the sad part about it. Okay. So the 5 myths, they ain't coming in a white van all the time. They might not disappear from home. Professionals are not always trustworthy, right? I'm hoping that we got good school teachers, but all of them not right. um, that the children are forced to leave, because sometimes they're not. They leave willingly, right? And the police don't always find our children. Okay, so we don't want them out there in the first place. We want to protect them in the very beginning. All right, all right. So, what are some key signs? What are some key signs that you could look for when it goes to human trafficking? What do you think are some key signs? Okay. I like to talk about these few. There are many, but these are a few that I want y'all to pay attention to. Possession and money. If your children start having money, like very expensive gifts, designer clothes, name brand clothes, jewelry, right? They got a new iPad. Somebody's just buying them something. You need to really pay attention to that. Where are they getting this money from, and why are they getting so many good gifts? We call that grooming. Is your child being groomed? They should not have a pocket full of money that you did not give them. And you need to be able to ask and have that conversation with them, right? Because I I love my children, but everybody not just gonna buy my kids very expensive gifts. They not that special. They special to me, but why are they so special to other people? So I really want y'all to pay attention to that, okay? Because it's not normal for people to buy your children very expensive gifts or giving them money, okay? There also are physical indicators. So if your child is coming home with bruises, cuts, burns, I had a client, she had cigarette burns and she was covering up. These kids wear so many hoodies and long sleeves, but you got to check up under them hoodies and these long sleeves to see if they have bruises. Tattoos, right? There's also like branding tattoos that some of our kids are getting, right? It might be a man's name, it could be a money symbol, right? It could be a barcode, it could be numbers. So pay attention to like reasons that your children may get a tattoo, especially if one that you didn't give them permission to do. Okay. We're really paying attention to the physical indicators, right? Sometimes our children start losing weight. They're not eating, right? You know they eat all the time. So really paying attention to changes in your children's physical appearance and also the behavioral changes, okay? The behavioral changes are big. Teens is hard because sometimes they don't want to be with the family anyway. But if you've had a child that always wanted to come and sit for dinner, always want to hang out with you, right? They always go to school, and now all of a sudden they skipping classes. They're late. You're getting calls about them. They're very secretive. Don't want to tell you where they're going. right? Or they're not explaining that they were somewhere and why were they somewhere. Like, we really have to pay attention to that. So the behavioral changes, don't always just say, well, now my child is just bad, they're bad. I always say, try to figure out the bottom line. Why is this child acting this way? Okay. Lack of control. If you notice that the person that your child is with has more control than you, that their opinion matters more than you, pay attention to that. If they're asking permission from somebody they shouldn't be asking permission from, like, what do you think about this? Do you think I should go? That's weird behavior, right? Nobody else's opinion really should matter way more than yours, right? So pay attention when you realize that a person has more control, or they're giving someone their cell phone to hold for them, or somebody has their ID. And why are you giving your wallet to this person to hold for you? Okay. Inappropriate relationships. They might have an older boyfriend or older girlfriend, right? And very, very controlling. And you're like, what's going on here? Sometimes that is a trafficker. Okay. Men are traffickers and also women. So you want to pay attention to that. If your child is dating somebody extremely older and they kept it a secret, this person won't even come to your house and meet you. Things like that you gotta pay attention to. I'm not saying that everything is human trafficking, but you want to think about it because you just never know, right? Social media, that your child has like multiple cell phone, multiple social media profiles. They have a lot of sexual content. You start realizing that they have porn on their cell phone. You catch porn on their computer. I want you to pay attention to that because our children have access to the World Wide Web. And a lot of you don't even have like security controls, or you don't have the passwords to your children's cell phones or to their tablets when you really should. There should be no closed doors. There should be no closed cell phones with a password, no computer with that I don't know the password to. Okay. I really want y'all to be vigilant on that because that is one way that traffickers get access to our children. Okay. I've seen it where there's principals. We've seen TSA agents. Don't assume that the trafficker looks like a person behind a mask. The trafficker is your next door neighbor. Okay. And I don't like to say that all the time. Like, people be like, Vanessa, you don't trust nobody. It's not that I don't trust nobody, but you got to prove to me that you're a good person. I'm just gonna tell you because I done seen some crazy stuff. All right. How can you protect your children? How can you protect your children? I done told y'all all this, and I want y'all to know how you can. One is become informed. You should know about human trafficking, what it is. You can go to like different forums, different nonprofit organizations have events. We always have events at the State House, the South Carolina State House. There's a human trafficking event in every community, almost every community, but definitely in every state and in your larger communities. So start paying attention to those, go to those, support those, learn what it is so that you could talk to your community and family and friends about it, because awareness plus knowledge equals prevention. Okay. You need to be informed, and these kids know what it is too. A lot of them know, right? They even have friends that have been in trafficking, and they know it. Okay, they know it. One, communicate. You got to talk to your children about these topics and keep it real because they are very informed, and you have to have that open communication. When you're talking to them, don't tell them that, I'll kill anybody that does something to you. Tell them that y'all will go to the police, that you'll resolve it. How are you going to handle this? What are you going to do when they communicate with you about things that's going on? Okay. So I think that is very important that you really, really be vigilant on what it is that you need to do, what it is that you can learn, okay? What it is that you can learn, but also how can you make it applicable and apply it to your family, right? I need you to really pay attention to this. Next, create a safety plan. Create a safety plan and a password. Any type of code word. It could be Spider-Man, Batman, Cinderella, a word that you know, like, my child is really in danger. What happens if they were kidnapped? What happens if they find themselves in human trafficking? What happens if their friend said, let's go to this party, and they got to the party and they was doing drugs, and then they got scared to come back home, right? So then they leave with the trafficker and don't even know what they're getting into. So I want y'all to really have these conversations with them, but also to create a plan. Like, this is what we would do. Plan of action really helps. And I don't know if a lot of you have plans, but what happens if you're kidnapped? What happens if you find yourself in human trafficking? The other thing you could do is, right? Number four is, I want you to show them movies and real scenarios. Excuse me. Show them movies, scenarios, social media posts. Don't hide that from your children. They need to see what is going on. Okay. They need to see that it's a TSA agent that's talking to someone that they think is underage, that's a 13-year-old child. They need to see that. We can't hide that from our children. Okay. If they come and tell you something, believe them and report it. Let the police do an investigation. If your kids come and say, Mom, I think such and such is part of human trafficking, da 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 da, believe your kids and go report it. The police is there to assist you in these matters. I'm just going to tell you, like, sometimes people don't want to go talk to the police, but we're not experts, right? We're not experts in human trafficking. What you going to do? You can't just go and bust up in there and and go pull children out. So we make sure that we talk to law enforcement, because that is our battle buddies is law enforcement. Okay. And I want y'all to remember that. Don't feel like you're embarrassed and shame. I've seen so many parents be like, well, I didn't want to tell anybody because I thought that they'd think that I'm a bad mom or I'm a bad dad. And so the parents won't even tell anybody. The best parent is the parent that can tell all of us what happened with their child so that they can prevent it from happening to other children. Okay. Don't be embarrassed. The trafficker should be the one that's embarrassed. The abuser should be the one that's embarrassed, right? And y'all, it's crazy. I done seen it where it's the mama and the daddy that's trafficking their children out. So I want y'all to really be vigilant and think about this and what it is that you might see. Okay. What it is that you might see. So how can you protect your kids? One, become informed. Go to events, community events about human trafficking. Number two, communicate with your children and have conversations with them, right? Have real conversations with them. Four, create a safety plan and a code word so that if something happens, you and your children are already on the same sheet of music. Okay, y'all are doing the same thing, the same thought processes, because you have went through this and you know how it's supposed to happen. Next, I want you to show them movies and real scenarios and social media posts about human trafficking and what's happening to kids and what it look like. Okay. Next, I want you to believe and report. Believe your children. It's a very hurtful feeling when parents don't believe their children, and that child hurts even more when you don't believe them, no matter who it is. I don't care if it's your father that this child is telling you is doing it, or if it's your mother that's doing it, or your grandmother. We've seen it. And so I want y'all really to pay attention that just because somebody's in your family doesn't mean that they're not the trafficker. They very well may be. I don't see anywhere with the police officers. So you just can't trust everybody. Okay? Don't trust everybody. Stop leaving your kids with people. People should not have access to your children. And just because you start dating someone doesn't mean they should have access to your children. Okay? Stop that. Stop. Stop leaving your children with anybody and not being vigilant and checking up on them. Okay? Now, these are some red flags if you were to see somebody in the community and you're trying to figure out if they're being trafficked or not. If that is in your spirit, I would say just go ahead and report it, not trying to figure it out or being a private investigator, or you trying to do it on your own, right? I want you to report it and let the individuals who are professionals handle that. You can call the trafficking hotline or you can call 911 and let them handle it. You're doing your due diligence by reporting, okay? Because some of these people are very dangerous, and so I don't want you to take it into your own hand. But I want you to look for these things. If a person is fearful, right, tense, or sometimes paranoid around certain people, sometimes those are signs for us that the individual is being trafficked. It's very weird, like how they act around them, like just kind of jumpy or whatever they say. They're their beck and call. Next is a person is deferring to another person for information. So if they're like, "Can I say this?" or "Can I tell this part?" or "Where are we from? Where did we live last night? Where did we stay? Not live last night. Where did we stay last night?" So they don't have all the answers and they're not sure, that's a sign sometimes that that person is in trafficking. Next, if this person has any physical injuries, right, and the brandings, like I said, that for your children, right? Sometimes it's on their chest, it's on their neck, it's on their arm, their wrist, on the back of their neck. So you want to make sure that you're paying attention to that, to some of those things, right? Now, all tattoos don't mean that a person is being trafficked. You also have to use some wisdom too. Clothing is inappropriate, so they might have on very sexual and suggestive clothing at the library, right? Or we're we're just in Walmart and we're talking, but they're dressed like they're out for the night. Let me give a better example. You're at Walmart and it's early in the morning, and this individual is dressed as if it's nighttime, right? I don't want y'all to become very judgmental. Just pay attention, right? So I don't want you to be like, oh, why she got that on? She must be trafficked. That don't mean that, right? Because people go wear what they want to wear. I'm just giving y'all some ideas that sometimes we look at that. So if it's cold outside and they have on a real short skirt, breast out, and it's freezing, they don't have a coat, that's something to look at, right? Because why? If this is a minor and they have no adults with them, right? And they're out, you do have a right to be like, where your parents at, right? Paying attention to a minor out at night and no parents around, right? And especially if you know they got to go to school tomorrow. Okay. A person doesn't have their own identification. Somebody else could be holding their ID, their birth certificate, their social security numbers, their debit card. They don't hold nothing of their own. Pay attention. They don't have their own money, their own purse, their own wallets. That's something for you to look at. All right. The person works long or excessive hours, right? Why are you working so many long and excessive hours? And there's no accountability, and sometimes they don't even have no money to show for what they're doing. They're over sexual for their age, right? So they're 13, 14 years old, and their breast is out, and it's almost like it's a presenting, it's like you're presenting yourself to the world as being sexual. Okay. They got multiple phones, multiple social media accounts. You want to pay attention to that. Your kids really shouldn't have more than one phone, but I will tell you, most of them do. Most of your kids got more than one phone. You know why? Because when you put them on punishment, they go get the other phone and they use Wi-Fi. So I would highly recommend that when you put your kids on punishment, that you cut that Wi-Fi off too, or that they can't access it. Okay. All right. Sometimes we look at where people live. If a person is living like in a massage building or an abandoned building, sometimes we look at that as human trafficking too. So we pay attention to that. There are a lot of neighborhoods who have traffickers. Sometimes they're in abandoned houses. Sometimes they're in the best house right by your house. Okay, so you just never know. You never know. It's not a poor people thing. Rich people are traffickers. I'm gonna tell you, politicians are big for it. They start paying for stuff too. They pay for sexual favors. A lot of times you'll see they don't even want it to go away. And I say that all the time. Like if you part of it, you ain't gonna want it to go away. But that's why it's our responsibility as parents and grandparents to take care of our children, right? To look after our babies so that they're not next. And if you're sitting here and you say, well, I don't really believe it, anything will happen to my kids, it's your children that could be next. It's your children that could be next because you don't believe it and you're not being vigilant. I believe it 100%, and I stop people having access to my children because of that. Okay. It's big, y'all. It is real. And I wanted to do a show on this because a lady asked me, she said, well, isn't it overseas? And I said, yeah, it's overseas, but it's right here too. Trauma is a world problem. Crime is a world problem. Okay. And people be like, oh, well, not in the United States. Yes, in the United States. Okay. In the United States. I want y'all to make sure that you know the human trafficking hotline. You can always Google it. When you put in human trafficking, that hotline come up, but it is 1-888-373-7888. Then you could just always call 911, right? But if you got like questions or you thinking that something might be going on, call the hotline, right? Believe when other kids say something ain't right, something's going on, right? Got to pay attention to that. Now, I'm not telling you to be a person that's just in everybody else's business, but I do want you to be a bystander that intervenes and that calls. I'd rather you call and say, hey, this is suspicious, instead of you not saying nothing at all. That's it. You just call the hotline and say, hey, some activity going on. I noticed this, and let them investigate. You don't even have to have all the answers. You're not a private investigator, okay? So 888-373-7888 or 911. But how do we protect our children is by getting these jokers off the street, okay? That's it. Because if they're in your neighborhood, your child could be next. So it takes all of us to fight against human trafficking, okay? If you have any questions, you can always drop them in the chat. You can always reach out to us. But like I said, the human trafficking hotline is the best way to go, because they could send individuals right out to investigate and answer any questions that you have. Okay, so be vigilant. Have these conversations, and communicate with your children, because you're the front line. You're the first person that's going to protect your children, even before anyone else. And if you see where schools don't want to talk about human trafficking, or they don't have any programs, you need to have those programs. Your children need to be informed. The nonprofits can come out and give information about human trafficking as well. And so reach out. You never know what programs they have and what programs are in your community. Right? All right. I want to announce something to you all. I haven't even dropped it yet, but because you're listening to my podcast, you'll find out first. On April the 4th, Hush No More is doing a Hush No More Fair Sunset Voyage. So we're going to have a yacht ride. April the 4th. And y'all know April is Sexual Awareness Month, so I'm real big on doing activities and bringing people together and loving on each other in April. So I'll be dropping that very soon, probably tomorrow. But I wanted y'all to know in advance, because you're my tribe. And we're also doing our military sexual trauma retreat, Sister in Service. I want y'all to just come out if you're a survivor of MST, April 17th through the 19th at Camp Kennard. It's going to be an amazing retreat. And we're also still looking for Puerto Rico. We go to Puerto Rico in June, y'all. And so I would love for you to come hang out with us. Okay? Come hang out with us so we can love on you, learn some more tools, and just have fun and get away from your kids, because these events, no children are allowed. Nothing against your kids. But sometimes all mothers and fathers, we need a break. All right? And also, we have art therapy on Thursdays. You don't have to know how to color. You don't need to know how to draw. All you have to do is come with some paper, pencils, some tools, and it's online. And it's me and Kim Hardy from Hardy Hands, and we have a lot of fun. So Thursday nights is art therapy. All right, y'all. Peace and blessings to you. Thank you for being vigilant. Make sure you take care of your babies. Take care of your babies. Protect them. Protect your grandbabies. And know that I love you, and I hope that you have an amazing day, night, month, or whenever you're listening to this, because 2026 is going to be an amazing year. Peace, y'all.